Good morning. First of all, this is what I did yesterday. I pulled all the weeds where my onions and garlic were, and I have a watermelon or a cantaloupe growing over there, which will have plenty of space to grow into. And this is arugula that is volunteer. Well, it's not volunteer. This is the arugula that was there, and I let it go to seed, so it reseeded itself, and I'm gonna have a bunch more arugula. Anyway, that's my garden update. Not that you asked for it, but I want to share it. And let's talk about our fascination with the moon today. Why are we so fascinated by the moon? Well, as we know, the moon symbolizes emotions and the feminine. And we're still very infantile when it comes to fully processing our emotions, learning what they're there for, and living in the flow. Sorry. Oh, yeah, that's the coffee. So that's the flow, you see? There was something obstructing my throat, and I have to clear it at this moment. And even though it may not sound very professional, I'm not aiming at being professional when I'm doing these videos. I'm aiming at being in the flow and truly expressing whatever wants to come through me at this moment in a very authentic way. So when we operate from both our mind and the heart, and allow our mind to be informed by the heart, and put the heart in the center as the leader and the mind as the servant, then our lives are transformed into more soulful and aligned with our truth, and in harmony with everybody and everything else. Whereas if we're just leading with the mind, we tend to be stuck in certain patterns that may have worked for somebody before, but have subsequently become outdated because you see everything changes. And we could relate it to everything, even gardening or way of doing things. Like now we know there's so much technology. So even this simple example, I'm doing this video with my phone and I'm going to share it on YouTube, and it's going to be accessible for people all over the world. Whereas a couple of years ago, I would have not been able, I need more coffee, to do that, because the technology was not that advanced, and so there weren't those opportunities. And in the same way, before, knowledge was disseminated through books. And a lot of times people couldn't even own books. They had to go to the library and borrow books. Now we have this easy way of accessing books. We can buy them online. We can, immediately read them in an electronic version. And at the same time, because we have so much access to intuitive knowledge, and everything is changing so fast in our world, there's a lot of information that is coming through on YouTube channels as well, and it's coming so fast that people don't have time to write it in books anymore and just share it orally, like before people would share stories when they didn't have a way to record things. So they would share those stories in a way to preserve them. Okay, that was a little digression, but what I wanted to share is that one of my cucumbers is dying. Not really. Let's go back to the moon. But I actually, this is relevant. See, like right now, I'm like, oh, that's sad. That something happened. But it is what it is, right? I have to celebrate the ones that are alive. Um, so when we explore the moon and those parts of ourselves that are in a way hidden, especially for men, like there has been this whole conditioning that men should not show emotion or act on emotion or exhibit emotion or, just kind of have to suppress that. But if we start to work with our emotions and get better at realizing what they're there for and start to listen to them, then a lot of that mystery behind people's motivations of why they do this or that or whatever starts to become perfectly clear. And you're like, oh, okay, this is how a lot of advertising uses uh, that knowledge to push people's buttons to make them do things. And we use that on daily basis in communication that is more based on manipulation, because that's what we've seen, so unless one actually consciously works on becoming more emotionally intelligent and guided from their intuition, those patterns keep perpetuating themselves, and a lot of times we are unaware of them completely because everybody's doing it, so it should be normal, right? But another thing that I wanted to bring up, which I feel is very important, and I was contemplating today and scrolling already, is that not only the moon can teach us about emotion and our shadow and the things that we have suppressed, repressed in ourselves that we need to reintegrate back to wholeness, but also, what does the moon do? The moon reflects the light of the sun. It does not emanate its own light. So in that sense, the feminine within us, which hopefully we're all aware that we both have, like regardless of whether you're a man or a woman, we all have the feminine and the masculine energies within. So the feminine within us reflects everything that we put inside of her. And not only does she give it back, but before she does that, she multiplies it, nourishes and nurtures it in the same way like a woman gives birth to a child, it started with, oh, here is some sperm, and have fun. And the female body is so sophisticated that it's like, oh, sure, yeah, I'll grow you a baby. So in that same way, whatever emotions we have, they get multiplied and come out in certain ways. And that is important to be able to explore within our own selves and our inner world. And then also see how does this reflect in our relationships and in male-female relationships. If you're a man, what kind of feelings you are feeding into your woman, and are you using her as a place to dump your unresolved anger, grief, sadness, frustration, embarrassment? Or have you learned to process those feelings yourself, be informed by them, learn to make the necessary changes, alchemize them, and then feed your woman love, respect, joy, peace? And in turn, she'll take those, multiply them, and give them back to you. So those are interesting things to contemplate when it comes to the moon and our fascination with it. Enjoy your Sunday.